The Philadelphia 76ers trail the New York Knicks 0-2 in the series and are still in the process of scrapping their way back. But there is a storyline I want to make sure is not getting lost in the transition here, and that's how great that Tyrese Maxey has been. This has been a season in which Maxey has grown out of the conversation where he's this fun, young, up-and-coming player to where he now deserves to be in the conversation for the real deal stars of the NBA and the guy that is the ideal number 2 option to Joel Embiid. That when you speak about the long-term impact of Tyrese Maxey, that this is a guy who has extended the championship window around Joel Embiid, and just think about how dark the future of the Sixers would be if there was not this 23-year-old ready to carry the baton beyond him. But in the short term, I just do want to talk about how good he truly has been. And he is receiving some of his recognition that he was crowned the most improved player for his continued rise to stardom this season, but I think he's been even better than that warrants. That we're talking about this is the guy who's leading the entire NBA in fourth quarter scoring in this playoffs, that including guys like Jamal Murray, like Luka Doncic, and every other star in the NBA. And to touch on the most improved conversation real quick, I have seen a ton of pushback, and I understand that's mostly coming from the Kobe White crowd, and I get it. Kobe White definitely has a case and has an argument for the award. I think really the conversation, the debate here is more of an issue with the definition of the most improved than the Tyrese Maxey versus Kobe White thing. But to dive into it specifically, to take a look at Maxey's rapid improvement, that's starting as a rookie, just 8 points per game, only 15.3 minutes, not really getting an opportunity. That, of course, being the Ben Simmons year, and, of course, Doc Rivers being the guy really afraid to take Tyrese Maxey out of his shell. That I think for this specifically, this had more to do with Doc Rivers not trusting Maxey than Maxey not being ready. But then we look at year 2, where he does take that leap up, this being the start of the year with the Ben Simmons holdup. Maxey averaging 17.5 points per game, also had 4.3 assists, 3.2 rebounds, and where the most notable growth was going from a 30.1% three-point shooter to a 42.7% three-point shooter. And then looking at year 3, up to 20.3 points per game, 30.5 assists, 2.9 rebounds, still took another stride forward from the perimeter, shooting 43.4%. So this obviously being the year before this season. And one of the biggest pushbacks in this most improved conversation that I see this nitpick stat being thrown out there, that Maxey is the only player to win most improved after averaging 20 points per game. For starters, just a direct pushback, I mean, Julius Randle won it after averaging 19.5 points per game. So if you want to nitpick 0.5 points, be my guest. But really the conversation is where he played as opposed to the expectations. That this was a situation in which it was not clear what version of Tyrese Maxey was stepping on the floor this year, that it wasn't sure what even the direction of these Sixers would be, that there was a real deal conversation that is this just a gap year going into, that we know all the contract situation, that when we look ahead to this offseason, the Tobias Harris money coming off the books, that when you look at who is still left on this roster, it's really just Joel Embiid, and they have given Ricky Council an extension. Paul Reed's contract is fully dependent on if the Sixers make it past this first round, and Maxey will be a restricted free agent where the expectation is he will sign this max contract. The man is going to get paid this offseason. 5-year, $205 million is my expectation. That's the most the Sixers can produce and offer him at this point. But the bottom line is that it was not clear that he would be this version of a star, and then he became one. And you look at these stats for this season, 25.9 points per game, a real deal all-star. Also, a huge growth in 6.2 assists, and that's especially notable because there were questions if he was capable of being a point guard. Now, that role has kind of been reduced a little bit at this point when they bring in a guy like Kyle Lowry who's able to pick up some of that slack. But that was a question going into the season. Is Max even capable of being a true point guard? He is a guy who, even to this day, his best asset is at a scorer, and that's not a critique. That is simply an evaluation of his skill set there. But he did prove that he was capable. And perhaps even more impressive is the fact that he did not turn the ball over. That when you look at these stats from a turnover perspective, just 1.7 points per game. That Tyrese Maxey and Kyrie Irving became the first players in NBA history this year to average over 25 points, over 6 assists, and under 2 turnovers per game. That's ridiculous stuff there. And the only real critique here is when you do see the 3-point percentage dip, that going from 43.4% to 37.3%. For starters, 37.3% still pretty damn good. And the reason for that being that he had to create his own shot in a way that he has not this year. That there was a lot more off the dribble. He was obviously higher up on the scouting report, and we really saw that percentage dip during the period of time in which Joel Embiid was hurt. So I'm not going down too heavy on him. And to touch on Kobe White here, that the conversation around Kobe White, again, a good player, a guy that I like, a guy that has changed the direction of the Bulls. But he's been a guy that has underperformed coming into the NBA and just finally found his stride. That looking at these stats, going from 13.2 points per game as a rookie, 5th in Rookie of the Year voting, down or up to 15.1, then down to 12.7, down to 9.7, and then up to 19.1 this year. So with Kobe White, I mean, the path was cleared for him to get minutes and prove to be this caliber of player due to Zach LaVine's injury in the first place, that there's a real world in which Zach LaVine does not get hurt. The Bulls continue to have their mid-season that they did have, and then we don't even get to see Coby White kind of expose himself and prove himself to the player that he is. There is a case for Coby White to be most improved, and once again, I will push back that the biggest critique here has to do with the definition of the award, not with Tyrese Maxey specifically. But the other thing that I would like to note here is Coby White's a guy who expectations were far higher than coming into the league. That he was the 7th overall pick and a guy expected to be a dude capable of carrying a franchise in a way that expectations were just not the case for Tyrese Maxey. That Maxey guy, again, the 21st overall pick, and it is still wild that he fell to that place, but he's been a guy that has outperformed expectations year in and year out, while we would essentially be awarding Coby White for having a couple bad seasons in between his developmental arc. But to bring it back to Maxey specifically, I do think it is worth noting that this guy is proving that he's built for the bright lights, that he is a playoff riser. And to look at his playoff stats specifically, 34 points per game in the 2 games so far this playoffs, has not missed a free throw just yet, 5.5 rebounds, 7.0 assists. The shooting numbers, again, this is too small of sample size to fully dig into, but 40% from 3 is impressive stuff. And this comes over back-to-back seasons in which he has also performed well in the playoffs. That in that 21-22 playoffs, 20.8 points per game, 20.5 points per game last year, which was as the third option alongside James Harden and Joel Embiid. He did not have this free reign to just produce and have these opportunities in which we're seeing this year. So it is really impressive stuff. And again, he was the guy taking over down the stretch when Joel Embiid didn't have it left in the tank. When we saw him really struggling to get up and down the floor, Maxey said, "No sweat, don't worry about it, I got this." And that was really cool to say. There was even a clip where I haven't seen anybody post this video, but I noticed it during the flow of the game where Maxey hit a big time 3. It wasn't the last one, the final one, but it was during the stretch of the game. They're jogging down the court and the camera pans to him and Joel, and you can just see him mouthing, "I got you, I got you." And that was a very cool moment to me, that he is built for the moment. He is ready for it. And by the way, from a maturity standpoint, the dude carries himself as great as any athlete you can ask. That he does it with a smile. He's locked in. He takes responsibility and owns things. The future is in bright hands for this Sixers team. And to talk about his impact for this specific series, I did want to point this out. That Tyrese Maxey is averaging 14.5 half-court drives per game while shooting 72.2% on drives through 2 games. He also has a 13.8% assist percentage and 0 turnovers on drives. Incredible offensive output so far in some physical games. Maxey getting downhill is Philly's best offense right now. Spot on, and that is what makes him so dynamic as a player. That his finishing package, the way that he's able to kiss it off the glass, spin it, it really is just Kyrie Irving, the only player I feel is in the conversation for as good as Maxey. And again, it's especially impressive because Maxey is this 6'3" little guard finishing among the trees. And why he's so dynamic as an offensive weapon, it's always going to be that threat to get downhill. That I truly think he's the fastest player in the league and a guy that has a gear that nobody else can reach. The only guy I truly feel is in the conversation is De'Aaron Fox, maybe John Morant if you want to squint and look at it, but I do think Maxey can dust either one of them in just a straight line sprint. And what's even more impressive this year is he's found a way to switch gears and shift in a little bit different way. That it is not just this go 100 miles per hour at the rim. There's more strategic concepts to it. That you can see the choppy steps, the way he can kind of hesitate, and then he uses that to create everything. That the three-point shot that he has now developed into a legitimate weapon, a guy that, again, has been top 5 in three-point percentage in the past 2 seasons. That's impressive stuff for a dude that was the biggest concern coming out of college. But that you prevent that type of an issue on a defense, that you have to pick and choose here. You're either guarding the 3 or you're worried about getting blown by. And beyond that, he's added a little mid-range. He's always had this little floater, and he's grown as a playmaker. That those decisions getting downhill, the kickouts to the corner, these have made him into a complete offensive weapon. And I don't think he gets enough love on the defensive end either. That is in a particular area where he has challenged himself this season. I will argue, pound my fist on the table right now, that he's at least a league average defender right now. And frankly, I think he's a little better than that. That just take a look at the way he competes off ball, the way he fights around screens. And he's not a guy that you can circle and go at. And that's incredibly impressive considering his size. Now, he's never going to be a guy in Defensive Player of the Year conversations or anything like that. But the fact that he can hold up as at least an average defender increases his ceiling in a major way. He's not going to be one of these guys like a Trae Young, for example, where you're constantly going to be able to circle and you have to keep that in mind in a roster construction standpoint. He raises the floor and the ceiling of the Sixers team when you think about in the long term what they can build. And when you do think about that this will be the season that we truly have this happen. That I don't want to overlook this series. Again, we are ready for war against the New York Knicks, and they do have to find a way to scrap out of this. But Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are the building blocks, and everything around them is still to be determined. That this offseason is where we will see that fully constructed, and we will have a chance to build a long-term sustainable team here. We will see how that all breaks down, but for now, I still want to be locked in on this Knicks series there. So shout out to Tyrese Maxey for giving this team a chance in the short term. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey for extending this championship window in the long run, and shout out to just being the guy to be the face of the franchise. Joel Embiid calls him the franchise for a reason, and I cannot wait to see where the rest of his career has for him. And again, I just trust in this dude to rise in the biggest moments, and that may very well be tonight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Give some love to my guy Tyrese Maxey. Again, appreciate him a ton, and a dude, again, on a human being level, could not be prouder or happier to have representing this organization. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button to keep the Sixers Digest family growing. Drop a like on the video to let me know you're listening, and we'll talk next time. Peace.